Hey everybody, it's 54 New Star, and today it's going to be an intro video into a tutorial series on how to work with Construct 2. Construct 2 is a 2D game engine similar to Game Maker, but in a way it is simpler, but not weaker in a sense. I wouldn't recommend building huge gigantic games in it, but it can handle pretty large games, and it is very easy to use. But I have used GameMaker for about 3 years. I've developed pretty extensive demo games, and I haven't built a full fledgling game in it. But with Construct 2, you are able to actually, well, both engines allow you to drag and drop code and both allow you to actually write code in it. Construct 2 does give you an edge on finishing the game quicker. That said, it doesn't, it's not, if you build it quicker, it's probably not gonna look perfect. Though if you are an expert at Construct 2, I'm sure it actually will look pretty good. So let's go with the basics. Right here, you see everything right here. And then, it looks very similar to Word, in a sense. But you have your scene where you get everything right here. The properties of that scene, like say, what do you want your resolution to be? What do you want to call it? And then, in a sense, any items that you drag into it you'll be able to put properties to them. What do I mean by that? I mean, do you want any special property for that? Like, say you have an object and you want it to be solid. Well, you would set it to be solid, and so forth. And we'll get into that later as we do a simple tutorial and then work up to more harder, full-fledged games. Project. This is basically the exploded version of the game. Where have all your rooms is very similar to Game Maker in this sense, and then where you have all your objects in that room, and then objects. This is just objects in each layer. So if I had 4 layers and I click on one, it would just contain layer 1 objects, and then layer 2 objects would be in layer 2. Or not layers, but rooms. Layers are, and again, 2D games is very similar to a paint program. If you're used to Adobe, GIMP, any imaging program like that, you kind of feel similarly at home here, to the fact that you kind of multiple layers, and then layer this character on that, but put a background on, you could put backgrounds on layer 0, put the character on layer 1, and then put any effects on layer 2. So that's what you can do there. Views, again, you can also adjust styles from Visual Studio 5, make it look older, the Windows 7, and then events. Add event, add condition. If it's doing this, then under this condition it will do that instead of this. So it's very basic, but once we actually get into it, you're going to be actually understanding quite a bit of it very quickly, and then start experimenting with it. Now, what can you export to? Now let's just open up a quick demo that I'm building for totally something else. So I'll open up this, and here's the event sheet. The event sheet's the code set behind everything, and as you can see, it can get pretty long. This is not the longest I've seen, but and again, it looks daunting, but it's really not. It's on start of layout. Set the character animation to idle right when playing from the beginning. Not mirrored. On right arrow press, set animation to run, and then the guy's gonna move right. On collision with a key card, the door sprite will destroy, and the sprite will disappear. This basically means disappear. On collision with a collision box, go to the next layer. If something's clicked, set time scale. And this is very interesting right here. I really like this game engine due to the fact that you can set the game to pause very easily by just doing something called a time scale, which basically it actually sets the time inside the game. So you're going 30 frames per second or whatever, natural time or whatever, and then suddenly set the time scale to 0.0, it's a pause. But if you click something or do something, boom, regular time scale is 1.0. So it's very easy. This is the properties box. So the name of the project, the version, default layout. So you can check out what that is. I usually leave it on default. Rounding a pixel, window size. If you're building a web game, in Construct 2 is for building web games, but you can export it to Windows and Mac and all that stuff. You can choose your export to a certain browser and it'll test it. And then what's really cool is that you can actually export your project to HTML, Chrome Web, Secure Online, Congregate, PhoneGap, AppMobi, Cocoon.js, Windows Phone 8, Windows 8, Open Web App, and Osinium. Never used them. I've just used PhoneGap, HTML5, AppMobi, Cocoon.js, Congregate, and Secure Online because that's all I needed. I like testing it on my Android tablet. I like testing it online, make sure it's running at a fresh rate of speed. If you have hindering speed, it's not enjoyable. Again, right here, I'm going to show you layouts. So we go to layout 1, which is the menu. As soon as I set these right. Okay, so we got layout 1, which is the menu. It's just a background, a button, and a title. That's all it has. Layout 2, got a character, it's got a background, and it's got its little text box right there. Layout 3 is the whole menu, and I'm clicking control and I scroll wheel backwards, and I get multiple backgrounds. I get a button, I get an enemy, I got a crate, I got a door, I got a character behind a button. So I got multiple things in there. Now, what do I mean by behaviors? If I said, when I talked about something being solid, when I click behaviors, it sets something solid. So I'm going to click on this little step, and it says behaviors, it's solid. Now, you can also just try outside layout, timer, manage multiple timers, which work per instance, persistent, jump through. Jump through is great for, you have a platform and it's moving, or you just have a stable platform. You want your character to jump to the bottom to the top of the platform like you do in some 2D games, but he can't jump from the top to the bottom. Scroll to, that's great for actually keeping the camera on the character. Turret for detect objects in range and rotating towards them and firing. Physics is very awesome, but can't slow down the system. Pathfinding, platforms, custom movement and bullet and car and all that stuff. Instant variables, that's in this room, if this happens, do that. Effects, now effects are very awesome, so you can dodge. It's very 2D stuff, but you can also do some 3D stuff, including bump mapping, which just made my objects disappear. Don't know why. But that's what it does. That's basically it. You can save stuff to a single file, like almost like a zip type thing, or save it to a actual folder. And what's very interesting, when you zoom out, you click the little blue space, you go to view. You can check. Excuse me, guys. You want a full screen, you want a progress bar, anything like that. You can also check out layout size. You can set the name of the layout, or the name of this, screen, and the event sheet it goes to. Like, this is layout 3, it'll go to event sheet 3, where all this code is. And then, you check out size and all that stuff. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Now, this is, just to get you familiar with it, not to actually do anything yet. That will be in the next episode, when I decide, what game we're actually going to move and do over. Consider doing a very simple, either a shooter, or it is going to be a very, very simple space defense. You're mining something, you defend something, and you keep the enemies out. But until that time, guys, hopefully this helped introduce you into Construct 2, which I think is a very awesome game engine. And I hope to see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye.